Let's talk, Matt, about something that has become a massive talking point in Dodgers land of late. That is a gentleman by the name of Shohei Ohtani, who is chasing 50-50, yes, but might be available to pitch in the postseason. Not expected to pitch at any point during the 2024 regular season, according to literally everybody. As you know, if you've been following DodgerBlue.com, Ohtani has been beginning his pitching regimen, his throwing the baseball, heading towards bullpens and throwing off a mound and all of those types of things. Now, the Dodgers front office, Matt, insists no chance this is happening. Close the door, 0% chance. But there's one person, Matt, who's been sticking his foot right in that door. And it's a gentleman by the name of Dave Roberts, who keeps seemingly going out of his way to mention, I wouldn't say 0% chance here on Ohtani. Where are you at on this whole back and forth, not only between just Ohtani, but between the Dodgers front office and their manager?
I think from the front office standpoint, it's more of not wanting to put that pressure on him, not wanting to publicly disclose maybe a potential plan or option, not a plan. With Dave Roberts, I think and we've had this discussion before, and I know it's not like I don't necessarily believe that Dave Roberts sits there and like deliberately lies like on purpose. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I don't. Like, I think he either, like I've said before, I think he either gets information sort of mixed up. So we saw it during the winter meetings when he was asked, like, have the Dodgers met with Ohtani? He was the only person who said yes, when the entire story was, hey, if meetings get out, like, Ohtani's not going to be happy. He's going to eliminate that team. Like, so, but Dave he said, I'm not going to lie. I don't want to lie. So I feel like
him with Kershaw injury updates too.
Yes. I feel like him saying this like sort of falls into that boat of like, he's not going to say that, yes, it's happening, but there is a potential for it. And so he's going to say like, yes, it's not like he continues to state that it is not a likely scenario. They're not planning on it, different versions of that, but then also follows it up with, but it's not fully, it's not 100% no. And for me, this question, like, it boils down to like, can Ohtani pitch in the postseason? Should he pitch in the postseason? And then will he? Like, it's a very complex kind of situation.
Yeah. My belief is like, this is going to be a break glass in case of emergency situation. Obviously, Ohtani is good enough to, like, I'm not worried about, did he get a chance to throw 2 innings at Oklahoma City over the course of 4 days? I'm not worried about that. But I do think it's possible that he's technically available. And I would say, well, I mean, look, they're never going to get there. Look, how many times did we say that about Kershaw pitching out of the bullpen in the postseason, and then it happened? So I don't think it's a 0% chance. Like, that's what I would say. I think it's going to be in play. And the reason is because it wouldn't be that hard, Matt, for me to imagine a scenario where the Dodgers are in very, 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 very meaningful baseball games and are desperately in need of 1 out or 3 outs or a guy to just get them out of a jam. And they look down the bench and there's Ohtani, who's technically available to pitch. And much like they said, no, Kershaw's never going to pitch out of the bullpen. He's a guy who's available. And I've said this last night, and Blake actually disagreed with me. Like, if the Dodgers have a real chance to win the World Series, and putting Shohei Ohtani into a slightly potentially compromised position as a pitcher is the one thing that's going to dramatically increase their chances of winning the World Series in a big spot, I'm okay with it. And I know there's lots of people that hate that. Blake disagreed. I said if you could guarantee me 1 World Series and Ohtani never pitches again, I would take it in a heartbeat. Blake disagreed with me, but I just think the Dodgers could potentially get to a place. Like, I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it's not 0.
I agree. And I think for me too, the other part of this is what I don't see is any scenario where Ohtani pitches in the NLDS.
Yeah, no,
I think if the Dodgers advance to the NLCS, and it would have to be like a game like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
That's when, to me, it becomes the first like reality of, hey, like, is he ready for this? Is this like, that would be the earliest point that they do it. Likewise, they get to the World Series. I don't see it happening the first, games 1 through 5. Right. It would need to be later in that. And I agree with you. We've been asked this question by our chat a few different, it sounds like you guys got it. You and Blake got it. I know myself, Daniel, and Scott got it the night before you guys. And it was posed to us from the standpoint of Game 7.
Yeah.
The Dodgers like need an inning or an out. I forgot the exact. I think it was Hawaiian Kier actually who pitched it. Was asking, would you use Ohtani if it meant like winning the World Series? And the three of us agreed. And
Yeah.
what I will say is I don't think the Dodgers, to the best of their knowledge, are going to put him in a compromising position physically.
Right.
The only way he pitches is if they feel comfortable that he's
Not
gone
gonna
through
make it
enough of the
work.
progression and he's right. They're not going to accelerate his timeline so that he pitches in the playoffs. Like that's not happening. But if he's ready, if he's gone through the natural progression that they sort of laid out at the beginning of the year and it lines up and it can happen, then yeah, I can see it. But again, not like NLCS would be the earliest, late
Yeah.
NLCS, late World Series. The other part of this too that I think we need to take into account and discuss, there's I think a very real possibility that Ohtani may like tell them, I want to, I'm willing to, I'm ready, what like that type of thing. Like he is a competitor.
Yeah.
And so if he goes to them and says, hey, like I feel like I can do this, like I would imagine that also changes the Dodgers stance a little bit from, what we've seen at least from the front office of no, he's not going to at all.
Yeah, there's two questions, right? Is he going to hurt himself by pitching? And if the answer is yes, if the elbow is somehow going to get worse, then I don't think the Dodgers are going to put him out there. If the question is, hey, the elbow's fine, he's just not anywhere near ready, I think that's the scenario where the Dodgers would say, okay, probably not, but not definitely not, And again, as Dodgers fans, we've heard them say, no, Kershaw's not available out of the bullpen. Don't worry about it, right? And then it's like the seventh inning, and you like, here's the video of Kershaw running to the bullpen, and you're like, good Lord, what did we do to deserve this, right? Like, I'm just saying crazier things have happened. And if he is physically able to pitch and not make things worse, I think you're right. He's a competitor. Like Kershaw, he's going to go to Dave and he's going to say, hey, I'm ready. And B, like in postseason games, crazy things happen. And it's short series and, bullpens get taxed, especially. Look, we're talking about a team with no relief pitchers, or excuse me, no starting pitchers. So you're telling me like game 6 or 7 of a series, they're going to have just a plethora of healthy, fresh arms? Probably not. And so I could just see the world. Again, I would put this at like a 5% chance. And that's only if they get to the NLCS or later. But I mean, who knows? It's interesting to me. I see, is Dave Roberts a liar, or is he just the type of person who talks and then like oversteps his bounds and says things that he probably doesn't mean to, or he probably shouldn't be speaking on, and he's not like actively lying and trying to mislead people as much as he just talks too much? Like that's an interesting conversation. But I tend to believe he's not like actively misleading people. He's just not somebody that should be trusted. And I think I can hold both of those without being a total hypocrite.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The other part of this too is Dave Roberts has I think Bill Plaschke spoke to him kind of on the side at one of the games, and that was where it first kind of surfaced, where Dave said, yes, the door is not fully shut. Then he also did an interview with MLB Network Radio, and then I'm pretty sure he addressed it again with reporters today before the game, excuse me. So it's not something he said just one, like this has now been shared multiple times, which lends me to believe like it's been kicked around the Dodgers circle, the Dodgers front office in their meetings to some degree of, hey, what would this look like? Is it something we can consider? Checking with the training staff. How is the progression going? Theoretically, 5 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, where do you think he would be? Yeah, he would be built up to, throw an inning against it, like that type of stuff. Like there's no way those conversations have not been had based on the number of times that Dave Roberts has thrown this possibility out there.
Yeah. And is it possible that Dave Roberts is like thinking 4 weeks ahead and saying, hey, if we play the Braves in the NLDS, I want them believing that Ohtani might actually be a guy they have to plan for in the bullpen? That seems a little bit of a stretch for Dave Roberts to be thinking like that, but it's interesting. So I'm curious to hear from people in the comments about where they're at. Would they want Ohtani to pitch or just shut him down and wait for 2025? Let us know what you think.